Okay, this is our video for section 2.4, and it's on writing linear equations. The first part here we're going to look at is the slope formula, and you should already know that. It's m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And remember, x1, y1 come from our first point, x2, y2 come from the second. We just figure out which one's our first, which one's our second. Doesn't matter which one you designate first or second, because it'll give you the same answer either way, but we plug in our values and then we simplify that to get our slope. Now, slope-intercept form, you should know that already also. It is y equals mx plus b, and m is the slope and b is the y-intercept, or where it crosses the y-axis. And remember, we talked before that if it's written as a point, it's always 0 and then a number, so it'd be 0b if it looks like a point. Now there is one other form. It's called point slope. I'm going to go ahead and show it to you. We're going to focus on slope intercept in class, or in the notes today. But you need to know point slope, and we'll go over it a little later in class tomorrow. But for the notes here, we're just going to use point slope. Slope intercept. Point slope, I'm going to give that to you right now. It's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Either one of those are acceptable, point slope or slope intercept, but we're going to focus on slope intercept. That's the one we're going to use. Now, you got 4 examples here, and for all of them, we want to write an equation in slope intercept form, so it needs to look like y equals mx plus b. That's the form it should be in. Example 1 is m equals negative 3/5, and it needs to go through this point 5, negative 2. I'm going to start with y equals mx plus b, and we're going to substitute some values in. Okay, so our first step is to plug in numbers. Well, m they tell us right here, that's our slope, and then from our point we're going to get x and y. X is the 5, y is negative 2. So let's plug those in. Y is negative 2 equals negative 3/5, because that's what m is, times x, which is 5, plus b. Now step 2 is to solve for b. So we're going to simplify this. We look at our fraction here, the 3/5 and the 5, they're going to cancel each other out, so it becomes negative 2 equals negative 3 plus b. Add 3 to both sides. B is 1. Step 3 is to rewrite in slope-intercept form. Okay, so we got 3 steps. 1, plug in. 2, solve for b. 3, rewrite. So we're going to rewrite our problem. We're going to leave y a variable, plug m in, negative 3/5. X is going to stay a variable, and then we're going to have to put in b to our problem. It's positive 1, so plus 1. Then there's our answer. Y equals negative 3/5 x plus 1. Now remember, in your final answer, x and y stay variables. Okay, we do have values formed here, but that's one point on the line, and we want to make a generic equation for the line so that any point from the line will work in that equation, so we leave x and y as variables. Example 2 here, we've got the x-intercept is 5, the y-intercept is negative 3. Let's make those points. Now the x-intercept we talked the other day is a number and then 0. It's where it crosses on the x-axis, so that's going to be 5, 0. The y-intercept is the opposite. It's going to be 0, negative 3. Now we need to put that in slope-intercept form, so y equals mx plus b. We don't know m. M we got to figure out. But we do have 2 points, so we're going to use our slope formula. I'm going to make this x1, y1, x2, y2. So it would become negative 3 minus 0 over 0 minus 5, which is negative 3 over negative 5, positive 3/5. Okay, there's our slope. Now the next thing we've got to do is figure out b, and for this particular problem, to figure out b, it's going to be real easy because they actually give it to us in the problem. Remember, I told you for the y-intercept it's always in the form 0b. Well, if we look over here, they tell us that the y-intercept is negative 3. So negative 3 is b. We don't have to do any work to find that one. So now all we're going to do is plug stuff into our formula. Y equals, m is 3/5 x. B is negative 3, so minus 3. There's our answer. Y equals 3/5 x minus 3. Example 3 says it needs to go through this point, negative 4, 2, and it needs to be parallel to the equation y equals 1/2 x plus 5. Alright, so we'll think about example 1 here where we have a slope and a point. Okay, we have our point, and we need to get our slope from this equation over here. Keyword is parallel. And parallel, if you remember, means that the slopes are the same. If two lines are parallel, they have the same slope. So all that we need is this 1/2. That's the only important part from this equation for a line that they give us in the problem, y equals 1/2 x plus 5. The 5 we're not going to worry about. It doesn't matter, okay? We just need the 1/2. So now it's like example 1. We know m is 1/2, because the slopes need to be the same, and it needs to go through that point. So we're going to follow our steps. We're going to plug in. So 2 equals, that's our y from our point, negative 4 is our x, 2 equals 1/2 times negative 4 plus b. Okay, that was step 1, plug in. Step 2 is to solve for b. 1/2 times negative 4, that's negative 2. So we get 2 equals negative 2 plus b. B is 4. Step 3 was to rewrite. Remember, x and y stay variables when we rewrite. So y equals 1/2 x plus 4. And there's our equation. Example 4 here, similar to example 3. It says through the point 5, negative 2. But this time it's perpendicular to this equation. Now if you remember, for perpendicular, there's 2 steps. You need to flip the slope and change the sign. So if it was positive, you need to make it negative. If it's negative, you need to switch it to positive after you flip it. Now again, the only important part from our equation here, the y equals negative 5x plus 1, is the slope. Okay? For perpendicular, we're going to make a perpendicular slope. We're starting with negative 5, so we're going to flip it, make it negative 1/5. Second step is to change the sign. So it becomes positive 1/5. There's our new slope. That's the slope we're going to use. But we use that negative 5 from the equation to find it. Now it's just like example 1 again. We have our slope. We have our point, 5, negative 2. So we're going to plug in. The negative 2 equals 1/5 times 5 plus b. Second step is to solve for b. So negative 2 equals 1 plus b. Subtract 1. Negative 3 equals b. Step 3 is to rewrite. Again, x and y stay variables for this part. Y equals 1/5 x minus 3. There's the answer to our problem. Okay? And those are your notes for section 2-4.